know is that women are often discriminated against, and then the outcome is that it's because of their gender. So that's also just to keep in mind, because they're
subconsciously.
Exactly.
That was in studies like that, they try and make sure the person's not like, oh, I'm a raging bigot or something. They're like, no, they're just normal people that sometimes are actually very in favor of gender equity.
So I'd like to address this question more directly. So actually, we probably work in similar fields. I actually manage the virtualization department for a Microsoft vendor. So we often run into the same problem. We currently have, I think, 4 developers that are women out of probably 15, which is not a bad percentage, keeping that in mind. But I think what the real problem is, not that you're too picky or not that you have a bias, but I think the problem is the women in the field and the lack of it. So I currently have taken Visual Basic, C++, C++, C#, Java, I think that's it. Those are all the languages I've taken. And in all my classes, we'll have like 40 to 50 people, maybe 2 girls in each class, if that. Yeah, sometimes not even that. And I think part of what our industry needs to do is start offering incentives that will get them interested in this field. Because right now, they're interested in doing other things, such as nursing, teaching, and that's where they're guided to go. If we offer incentives and maybe try to bring them into these fields and show them that it's actually a lucrative business where they can do really well, then I think that's where we need to start. And it's probably at school, and it's probably a little bit of government too, trying to get that going. And then hopefully, you'll see girls who are actually rising up and doing really well in this industry. Not to say that there aren't now, but they are harder.
I just want to add something. I think just a pretty simple answer to this question is pretty much, do you want your employees to be the best they can be, or you just want to choose them based off if they're male or female? I mean, if I'm going to be a manager and I'm going to select an employee, I don't care what you look like. If you can do the job better than the other individual, I'm going to hire you. It's that simple.
I think that begs the question, though, of whether or not we're actually able to make those impartial judgments. There's been no scientific evidence that we're able to. There's no study that says we're impartial. We don't operate that way, and we operate on a lot of social influence. I think that I agree with Derek that there has to be a lot of incentivizing and telling people that they can do well. Because a lot of people have been told that they can't, and that affects us a lot. That affects us in a lot of ways that we don't realize. And I think we need to get the message out there, not necessarily not the field, because I think the field does have that opinion, especially the tech industry. It's one of the more progressive industries, but the preceding steps to it aren't necessarily giving that message, and that's one of the problems, I think. Thank you.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, it's been shown just from like the hiring standpoint that women tend to undersell themselves in an interview situation, and men tend to oversell themselves. So that might be another thing that's contributing to sort of filtering women out at that stage, is that you may think that the male is the better candidate for the job, but in all actuality, he's just talking himself up more or more confident in what he has to offer. So he may seem like a better choice, but that may not necessarily be true.
So in general, I do agree with that. But what this gentleman is actually saying is what they'll do in the interviewing process is they literally give them 3 directions on a piece of paper, and they say, create a code that can accomplish this. It doesn't matter if they're men or women. If they can't do it, then they aren't going to get that job. And statistically, it's going to turn out that a lot more men are able to do that than women. And the issue is that's happening because we don't have women that are properly trained. And the reason is because there are no incentives for them to get properly trained in that field. Once we offer those incentives and start working them up, you'll start to see a big increase in girls who can do that. Hopefully that'll happen.
We are going to wrap this up tonight. Wanted to thank you for coming out. If you panelists want to take a stand and give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. All of the panelists will be sticking around after for some time. So if you have any more questions, they're happy to answer. They're highly intelligent, highly responsive individuals. So please stick around and feel free to fresh up. Thank you.
Yep. Increased female labor participation and growth. It's estimated that if women's paid employment rates were raised to the same level as men's, that America's GDP would be 9%, or would raise by 9%. The Eurozone, the European Union would raise by 13%, and Japan's GDP would be raised by 16% if full equality was placed between a man and a woman.
Other questions, please? Yes, sir.
Nobody paper, anyone can answer. I work in the technology field. I've been in that profession for almost 30 years now. And throughout my entire career, I have seen very few women in what I do. And I have interviewed many candidates for jobs when we're staffing up. Haven't seen a lot of women candidates. And honestly, when interview happens, we hire based on competency, not based on gender. So I definitely feel that there is a shortage in terms of women competing with men in that field where the hiring is really based on competency.
So basically, I think that just for that particular instance, I think that in the technology field, we are going to see a lot more women entering. Just from personal experience, and I've seen with a lot of friends and acquaintances that in order to equalize that gap, actually, a lot of schools and whatever it is, they're encouraging women to enter these fields. And so I think it is, part of it is that the technology industry is so new that that's why we see kind of an unequal distribution. But as it becomes more familiar, I think that we'll see more of a draw with women towards this a more interesting field. And so I think that that's just a matter of time.
I've got to actually take a point of departure on that. When we say that they haven't been there, they were there. It's just they're in a generation that's now been forgotten and retired, and it just happened to be that they were working more in the late 30s, the early 40s, back when computers were basically just like factory machines. They're still struggling to get out of the ground, but a lot of the innovations, especially machine language, came out of females. They just don't get mentioned as much. They don't get put into this point of being idols. One of the things about competency that's really weird, though, is that we think that it's immutable. It exists separate of us. But if you do this as a fun psychological test, and they've replicated this 100,000 times, and they really started doing this after Summers, President Summers from Harvard said women just aren't as good at math. If you tell women they're not as good at math before having them take a standardized test, they will score about 10% lower than men. If you put in front of them a fake study that says, we've suddenly discovered that women are actually better at math, they have this globe that comes out of nowhere, people play science, like people don't understand neurology. So you can lie to them a lot. Basically, if you lie to them and say women are better than men, suddenly that reverses entirely, and women score 10% better than men. So we have to ask ourselves, are we actually looking at competencies? Are we looking at what we are told competencies are and allowing the world to align to the way that we perceive it? We have a lot of power over ourselves subconsciously, and what we're told about ourselves suddenly becomes manifest in our own actions, in the way that we perform. It's not just like emotional, I feel worse unless I do worse, but we'll actually restrict ourselves. People do this all the time, and you notice it when we say, oh, I really didn't like this movie, and the other person next to me goes, oh, I loved that movie. You temper your own opinion. You go, oh, yeah, I guess it was okay. I mean, I know that's just small anecdotal, but it really transfers out. And if you, there's a really interesting book called I can never remember the name of it off the top of my head. Basically, the gender bias. And she basically goes through a lot of these case studies that really show that when you put it in a scientifically testable scenario, you can actually resolve a lot of these things. But society is obviously not a laboratory, and that's one thing to consider is we're not in that. Maybe we should more try to provoke variables that we consider.
I'd also like, oh, I'm sorry, were you gonna go on?
Yeah, I would just like to add something to it. That we actually want to hire more women, but we can't find them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we get told that, we have to create certain percentage women, and so therefore they're more likely to get hired. So my question is that, is that actually helpful, or should we hire based on competency and purely competency, as opposed to quota? That's a two-part question.
Yeah, I think you can accomplish both at the same time. I think it's just a way of how you're going to hire, just the process of that. Because if you extend how do I put this? There are women out there. I mean, obviously they're not as common, but of course, as a company, you're going to want to be basing it off of competency. But I think you can simultaneously assure that there are more women in that pool of applicants. And the way that you go about that, I'm not exactly sure. You can advertise the position in a multitude of places, but ultimately, in this type of economy, you're going to want who's the most competent. But I think